the next issue we are looking at is that the GBA ended its annual congress recently. That's the Ghana Bar Association, ended its annual congress recently and came out with some resolutions. The resolutions they published on Tuesday, and these are some of the matters that they spoke to. On the aspect of the matters affecting the nation, they had to speak about, they said that they noticed the growing incidence of interference in the activities of state institutions, and then they stressed the urgent need to stem this tide and insulate state institutions from any form of interference, and further stresses the necessity for state institutions such as Parliament, the Judiciary, the Electoral Commission, SHRA, YOCO, and NCCE, Metropolitan and District Assemblies, Lands Commission, and the security agencies, among others, to be giving a free hand to effectively exercise their mandate so as to ensure long-term sustainable development and stability of Ghana. Number 2, they expressed concern that a change of government leads to a change in positions of boards, heads of state-owned institutions, service commanders, and other security service positions, which changes appear to be so politicized, and emphasizes the need for regulatory bodies and state institutions to assume the posture of strong institutions devoid of any political interference and exercising the mandate conferred on them as by law established. They had a lot of things to say, and for example, these ones that they are mentioned, you will find that they are captured in the Constitution Review. Recommendations have been made in that regard. Some of them have been rejected anyway. Now, they also said that they encourage the presidents, they encourage persons at the helm of affairs to focus on the development of Ghana rather than on how they can manipulate state institutions to their advantage. And then they welcome the call or the charge by to the Bar Council by His Excellency the Presidency for them to present a paper for his consideration. I think one issue I'm looking for is the issue where they made recommendations in respect of SHRAJ. And this is what they had to say, that they strongly encourage the President to seize the opportunity of the appointment of a new chairman of the Electoral Commission to boost the image and credibility of the Commission before the 2016 elections. And they believe that, that what all Ghanaians will be looking for from the new Electoral Commissioner is one who is perceived as capable and just, a person of integrity, and one who will not pander to political pressures from any quarters whatsoever. Now, we have had comments coming from the, party in government and government suggesting that this is advice that government does not need. So the GBA should shut up. Abraham, why do you think this is so? Why has this become an issue?
On the issue of the EC's boss, I think the Bar Association goofed big time. They goofed because, for me, at this point in time, it is unnecessary for that advice. Highly unnecessary. The man's term in office would end in 2015, November. What then is the need for this call? The EC's boss tenure of office is regulated by the Constitution. And so we all know when he enters in, when he exits. His position is equated to that of the Court of Appeal judge. And so the conditions applicable to a Court of Appeal judge is what is applicable to the EC's boss. Now, I do not see the need for this because the President has not indicated that he's unable to get a suitable person for the replacement of Afari Djan. And I see the press release indicting Afari Djan. I see the press release attacking him, because it's not what you say alone which is important. It's which
part of the release attacks him?
It's what people perceive of what you say is also important.
Okay.
For you to say you need somebody who will boost the image and credibility of the EC, does that mean that the current EC boss did anything to undermine the image and credibility of the EC? And I'm saying that what you say also includes what people perceive of what you are saying.
Right. We are going to be brief, so that we can touch on the.
So I think that this call by the GBA is uncalled for. They have goofed big time, and I think that they should apologize on this matter.
They should apologize
to who? To the people of this country, to the EC commissioner himself.
I see. Kweku?
Well,
actually, they made that statement after their paragraph 5, which says they consider the conduct of elections as the single most important threat to our national peace and life as a people, and prescribe that the recommendations of the Supreme Court and many more be immediately considered and implemented by the Electoral Commission, and further calls on the Electoral Commission to go the extra mile to assure all Ghanaians that 2016 elections will be free, fair, just, and incident-free whatsoever. Yep.
Interesting. I didn't know that part. So it means I was a bit unfair to the GBA last Wednesday when I actually advocated that in my candid opinion, I thought they should have focused on the Supreme Court's recommendations for electoral reforms, maybe the recent president's pronouncement on ROPA, asking people to put pressure on the EC, and to avoid the Afari Djan thing, because I thought timing-wise, it wasn't immediately relevant. You know, it appears to that there was a certain misreporting that arose from the EC, the GBA's thing, and that led to all the subsequent negative reactions. You know, so I think that they ought not to have focused on the Afari Djan replacement issue.
Is that the GBA or the EC, the media? Because they have how many points? They have.
No, but they still made a point about Afari Djan.
Yes, they did. On matters affecting the nation, they had 12 different points, including this one, and including cessation of all 4-year-round campaigning season.
No, but I thought we're focused.
Yes,
from your
on
thing,
this one. Yes, exactly.
Restricting us to the Afari Djan thing. Yes, and I'm saying that Afari Djan's thing is a year or so to come.
Right.
So really, I was wondering what was the pressure for discussing that, you know, to bring it up in the context in which they did. All the other points are attributes of a EC chairman. I think that's fair, that it is in order, because that is what the Constitution or even the EC's thing says. You need somebody of high integrity.
Mr. Malvo suggests that what they said seeks to indict the current,
no, he did a distortion himself and refuted it, proceeded to deal with it. That's his own problem. That's his own problem. That's not mine.
What distortion?
That point about Afari Djan was the subject matter of those expressions. Yes. It's a distortion created by yourself.
No.
And
I said that what you say also includes what people perceive of what you say.
That's a distortion.
So what's a distortion?
You have
what you say doesn't it have a meaning?
Oh,
don't people read meanings into what you say? And I'm saying that what they are saying, they may be misread to mean this.
Okay.
So what's the matter?
I'm saying that's a distortion. Maybe it's a harsh word to use, but you have created your own understanding of what they meant, and you've put it out there, not innocently. You are now asking people to see it as a negative by the Bar Association. That's what you are doing. That's
so those people cannot think for themselves.
Okay. But you have done that.
And I'm saying that those people cannot think for themselves.
In principle, I mean, I may be wrong, but I was thinking that it was too early in the day for the question of replacement of the EC come next year to be raised at this time. Everything else they said was in order, in my candid opinion.
Okay, Prof, what do you say about that?
Well, I don't think that it was premature. I think that we would be somewhat naive to think that the political class is not already in the business of thinking through possible replacements for the EC chairman. So if indeed there is contemplation already going on, people are probably thinking through particular candidates and the like. I have heard names bandied around. So if people are thinking about this ahead of November 2015, what stops a public organization that is interested in this issue to also give some advice? And I don't think the advice reflects, it's really a reflection on Mr. Afari Djan. What I think the advice reflects is a certain a certain nervousness on the part of the GBA, as on the part of many of us, about the nature of the constitutional process by which a vacancy in the EC is filled. It's in the Constitution currently. We can't do a whole lot about it, but advise, right, that even though you have the power in the Constitution to pick a replacement with the advice, is it in consultation with the Council of State, you still ultimately are the one who determines, right? It is a bad process. If I were to write a constitution, it would not look like this. But that's what we're stuck with for now until at least 2015. So what they can do is, well, appeal to your sense of statesmanship, your sense of judgment, and say, look, because this institution is very, very important to our national peace and our democracy, and because elections, as they rightfully said, are really the greatest worry for us in terms of maintaining the peace and stability of this country, when you get the opportunity, as you are going to get very soon, to appoint a replacement to the office that is currently occupied by Mr. Afari Djan, please do not, right, exercise it in a way that, in other words, you have the power, but use it with a certain judgment in mind about the national interest. and I've said elsewhere before, nothing in the current constitutional formulation prevents the president, before he gets to the Council of State, to actually assemble a certain opinion, including from the minority parties, and say, look, this vacancy is going to fall, it's going to become vacant. I want to be as inclusive as possible in the process. It's within my constitutional power, but I want to be able to privately consult with you. Do you have any idea? This is who I'm contemplating. These are the 3-4 people. What do you think? And then sound this to them, get their opinion, sound other civil society players, but then he decides finally who to send. So in this process, in this other process that is the pre-submission process, the president has a lot of room to really make a choice that takes the interest of the country, puts the interest of the country above anything else, so that the credibility of the institution will not be damaged. I think this is fair advice to me. I don't see that as wrongful at all, and I don't see it as premature either. We're thinking about it. If anybody tells you they're not thinking about who might replace Afari Djan, and they have not been thinking about it even like months before now, they will be kidding, right? We all know that.
Thank you. Mr. Schultz, what do you say?
Well, I mean, I could understand the concern of the GBA about the need to appoint a new electoral commissioner who would build the credibility of the commission. But if I were drafting this statement, I would not have drafted it this way. I think the language that was used was open to interpretation, different kinds of interpretation, especially the latter part where it says, and believes that what all Ghanaians will be looking for from the new electoral commissioner is one who is perceived as capable and just, a person of integrity, and one who will not pander to political pressures from any quarters whatsoever. And as a result, the graphic publication actually said that the GBA was calling upon the president to appoint a new commissioner right now.
Not the graphic alone.
Many others. So I think that it is the way it was couched. It may not be as elegant as it could have been, you know. And I think maybe it would have been better if this whole issue about the appointment of a new electoral commissioner was dealt with in connection also with the appointment of heads of these governance institutions like Shraj and you know, the Auditor General and other.
You have that in the preceding paragraph.
Yeah. And what I would like to say is that the whole question about the appointment process, as Professor Christopher Mpe has mentioned, is a very, very critical one, and I would hope that it will be addressed in the constitutional amendment bill, which I don't know where it is now. I think that the present procedure whereby the president appoints the electoral commissioner in consultation with the Council of State is flawed. It doesn't enable us to, it doesn't make for a transparent and open and consultative process.
You want parliamentary
Now,
involvement?
the CRC has recommended parliamentary involvement, approval by Parliament, but by a simple majority, which I think is not sufficient. It should be by 2/3 majority, so that you can have bipartisan, involvement in the appointment of.
And for a fixed term of 10 years.
And exactly. But I think there is a better solution, which obtains in some other countries. I think that positions like the chairman of the Electoral Commission, Shraj, should be positions which should be advertised.
Absolutely.
And then people can apply. And civil institutions can for example, can submit names of people who they think are competent and credible and have integrity and have independent-minded, if those persons agree. And then you can set up a committee with representatives from certain institutions, maybe a representative from the Bar Association, from the judiciary, from the religious bodies, from civil society. You set up a committee. The committee looks at the applications,
vet them,
shortlist them, and then interview the shortlisted candidates and come down with a shortlist which it presents to the president. The president appoints one of the members in the shortlist.
Then it goes to Parliament for approval.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the president has the power of appointment, but he appoints from the shortlist, and it would enable us, it would improve the chance of getting, people who are perceived to be more capable and just as they are saying, and people of integrity and who are competent and have the moral courage to resist pressures from any quarters.
Okay.
I think that is a better
We'll take a break here. When we return, we'll be finding out if Ghana's search for fiscal credibility is quickly turning into a discredit of the country as the IMF is beginning to indict the central bank of cooking up figures. And I want to find out if my guest can help us to understand what difference it makes or what it means that our GDP is 70% and not 55% as we have been told all along. We'll be right back after this break. This is Newsfile.